So Bernie spoke on the issue of Kashmir at the largest Muslim conference in the country. Take a look.
I am also deeply concerned about the situation in Kashmir, where the Indian government has revoked Kashmiri autonomy, cracked down on dissent, and instituted a communications blackout. The crackdown in the name of security is also denying the Kashmiri people access to medical care. Even many respected doctors in India have acknowledged that the Indian government imposed restrictions on travel are threatening the life-saving care that patients need. India's action is unacceptable. The communications blockade must be lifted immediately, and the United States government must speak out boldly in support of international humanitarian law and in support of a UN-backed peaceful resolution that respects the will of the Kashmiri people.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's the only presidential candidate to speak out on this issue at this point. I mean, yet again, this is Bernie showing why he's Bernie, and he's the man, and he's a leader. So, massive credit to him here. I now look forward to reading the Twitter replies to him, which call him a Hindu phobe and say he doesn't understand the conflict and all these things. By the way, you guys, most of you probably saw my original segment on this issue. I offered the most milquetoast commentary in human history. If anything, I was slightly too soft on the Indian government, but the responses and the reaction, initially they were good, but then fast forward like 4 days when I guess the segment caught on further, and people were calling me a Hindu phobe and all types of nonsense. And honestly, it's kind of embarrassing, because basically what I voiced in that segment is the same thing that I'm going to voice right now, which is we're going to call this the Kyle rule of politics. I'm sure I've actually probably called 3 or 4 other things the Kyle rule already. So this is one of the Kyle rules of politics, and it goes like this. Semi-autonomous regions should be left, at worst, semi-autonomous. At best, you give a vote to the people living in said autonomy region to determine their own future. You understand? So that's the Kyle rule of semi-autonomous regions in the world. At worst, you just keep them semi-autonomous and take a hands-off approach, and it is what it is, okay? At best, you give them a vote to determine their own future and what they want to do and who they want to be. Do they want to be their own state of Kashmir? Do they want to join Pakistan? Do they want to join India? Do half want to be in Pakistan and the other half want to be in India? So these are all things that you need to have a conversation about and a negotiation on, and you need to have all the parties at the table, and you need to respect the will of the Kashmiri people. And, you're never going to, in situations like this, you're not going to get a solution where everybody is happy, every party is happy, because, a lot of people want a lot of different things. So since there's going to be no one answer that makes everybody happy, we have to default to what's the answer that is the least bad answer. And, like I just laid out for you, I think at worst, you keep a semi-autonomous region semi-autonomous, which is just kind of keep the status quo going as it is. And then at best, you say, well, we'll leave it up to the people of that region to determine their future and set up some sort of a democratic approach to this and some sort of a negotiated settlement where you bring in leaders from Kashmir, you bring in the Pakistani government, you bring in the Indian government, and you have that conversation. But certainly what's happening right now is unacceptable. And, again, I don't know how anybody can argue with the main point of my original segment and with the exact thing that Bernie is saying here, which is very simply, communications blackout? No. If you think you're not doing anything wrong, then why are you doing a communications blackout? Why would you do such a thing? Oh, no, the Indian government's not doing anything wrong. Modi's not doing anything wrong. And so the communications blackout is totally legit? Utter nonsense. No communications blackout. And that shows that they know they're doing something wrong. The crackdown on medical care, as Bernie alluded to there. I've now seen multiple articles with incredible detail laying out instances of torture. Again, totally unacceptable. So, it's wonderful that he's speaking out on this issue, and we need to have some sort of a negotiated settlement, some sort of a democratic settlement on this issue. And again, worst case scenario, you just default to go back to the Kashmir region being a semi-autonomous region, or best case scenario, let's get everybody at the table, let's get a negotiation going, and let's move forward from here by taking into consideration the democratic will of the Kashmiri people. So that's my incredibly milquetoast commentary on this. If you think that's, I'm going too far, or what I'm saying is somehow off base, then what's your solution? Because there's a lot of, troll commentary out there of just like defending the Indian government and their actions and defending Modi. And it's like, how? Why? You're going to go back to what happened previously, decades ago, to try to make a case based off of that? No, let's talk about the world as it exists today and what we should do from here. That seems like the most rational, straightforward approach. Instead of going back in history, looking at what happened decades ago, and then trying to use old grudges to move forward in a draconian and primitive way? No, that's not acceptable. So massive credit to Bernie here for speaking out on this issue. And let's see what the fallout is. But yet again, this is him leading on issues and showing why he's the candidate above all the candidates.